What if I told you that 3 men once walked into an inferno so hot it vaporized the soldiers who threw them in? And they walked out without even the smell of smoke on their clothes. This isn't fiction, this is history. And what happened inside that furnace has never been fully explained. It all starts with King Nebuchadnezzar, ruler of the mighty Babylonian Empire. He commissions a statue, an immense figure of solid gold, 90 feet tall, gleaming in the desert sun on the plain of Dura. He then gathers every powerful official from across his kingdom, governors, judges, treasurers, all of them, for a grand dedication ceremony. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the local governors, the deputies and the governors, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the local governors, the deputies and the governors, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together to the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Daniel chapter 3, verse 1, 2, and 3. His command. Simple, terrifying. Then the herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, peoples, nations, and languages, that whenever you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. Whoever doesn't fall down and worship shall be cast into the middle of a burning fiery furnace the same hour." Daniel chapter 3, verse 4, 5, and 6. When the music plays, you bow or you burn, and so, as the first notes echo across the plain, thousands of people fall to their knees, nobles, generals, priests, faces pressed to the dusty ground. Everyone obeys, everyone except 3 men. Their names are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But here's what makes this story so compelling. These weren't rebels. They weren't revolutionaries looking for a fight. They were respected government officials, educated men who had everything to lose, their positions, their status, their lives. So why did they refuse? To understand that, you have to know who they really were. Those weren't their birth names. They were Hebrews, and their real names were Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, names that meant God is gracious, who is like God, and servant of the Lord. But when they were taken to Babylon, they were renamed Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, names honoring Babylonian gods. You see, the empire tried to strip them of their identity. They could take their names, but they could not take their faith. That was non-negotiable. So when the king's decree went out, jealous informants wasted no time. They went straight to Nebuchadnezzar. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not respected you. They don't serve your gods, and don't worship the golden image which you have set up. Daniel chapter 3, verse 12. The king, in a rage, summons them. But he gives them one more chance, one final opportunity to bow. Just bow and live. And here is where the story turns from an act of defiance into a legendary declaration of faith. Listen to their response, spoken directly to the most powerful man on earth. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king, "Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter.
If it happens, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you have set up." Daniel chapter 3, verse 16, 17, and 18.
But if not, those 3 words are everything. They weren't bargaining. They weren't expecting a miracle. Their faith wasn't transactional. Their obedience wasn't conditional on their survival. It was absolute. Nebuchadnezzar's fury erupted. His face twisted with rage. He commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual, 7 times hotter. The heat was so intense, the flames so powerful, that when the strongest soldiers in his army dragged the 3 men, fully clothed, bound in ropes, to the mouth of the furnace, the fire lashed out and killed the executioners instantly. Just getting close was a death sentence. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown in and fell into the heart of the inferno. And then something impossible happened. Suddenly, King Nebuchadnezzar leaps to his feet. He turns to his advisors, bewildered. "Didn't we cast 3 men bound into the middle of the fire?" His advisors confirmed, yes, 3 men were thrown in, bound and helpless. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste. He spoke and said to his counselors, "Didn't we cast 3 men bound into the middle of the fire?" They answered the king, "Ah, true, O king." He answered, "Look, I see 4 men loose, walking in the middle of the fire, and they are unharmed. The appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods." Daniel chapter 3, verse 24 and 25. 4 men, not 3, walking freely. Their ropes burned away, but their bodies untouched. Who was the 4th man in the fire? An angel, a manifestation of God himself? Scholars have debated it for centuries. But whatever the explanation, one thing was clear. It was a divine presence. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace. He spoke and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the middle of the fire. The local governors, the deputies, and the governors, and the king's counselors being gathered together, saw these men, that the fire had no power on their bodies. The hair of their head wasn't singed. Their pants weren't changed. The smell of fire wasn't even on them. Daniel chapter 3, verse 26 and 27. The fire that killed battle-hardened soldiers couldn't even touch them. The furnace, designed as an instrument of ultimate destruction, had become a sanctuary, a place of divine revelation. But this is where the story gets really deep. Think about it. Why didn't God just prevent them from being thrown in? Why allow them to face the fire at all? Because some testimonies can only be forged in the flames. The 4th figure didn't appear before they went in. He met them inside the furnace. Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful man on earth, the one who built the golden statue, the one who demanded worship, had to acknowledge that there was a God more powerful than him. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and have yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god, except their own God. Therefore I make a decree, that every people, nation, and language which speak anything evil against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God who is able to deliver like this." Daniel chapter 3, verse 28 and 29. The decree went out across the entire empire. The God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is the true God. One act of faith, 3 men, changed an empire. So what does this ancient story mean for us today, right now? It means the furnace isn't always the end of the story. Sometimes it's the proving ground. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't know they would survive. They just knew they would not bow. And maybe that's the real challenge of this story. What are you willing to stand for when the heat gets turned up? What are the principles you refuse to compromise on, even if deliverance isn't guaranteed? The identity of the 4th man in the furnace is a great mystery. But perhaps the greater truth is this: when you are willing to walk into the fire for what you truly believe, you will discover that you are never walking alone. 3 men entered a furnace. 4 walked in the flames. 3 emerged. And the world was never the same. Maybe you're facing a furnace of your own right now. The question is, are you willing to step in, trusting that you won't be by yourself? Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the deepest mysteries of history and faith. See you next time.